Yo, what's up bros? My name is Nalbi and today I have some news for you, and today we're getting 2 videos as well. So if you're not subscribe now to become a bro today. By the way, this is part 23 of this recap. There's only enough chapters left to reach part 27. This month we're still getting updated, but like one chapter a month maybe, so I'll definitely be posting more recaps of it when more chapters come out, but it's gonna slow down like tenfold maybe. I know most of you bros are subscribed to watch my recaps of this manhwa, but please bros, check out other recaps I do on my channel as well, especially after we're done with this manhwa as well. And enjoy in the video. Now we see Ackerman talking to Miss G, and he asks her about the help Mr. Lin offered her and what power did he give her, to which Miss G responds by saying that thanks to Mr. Lin, she can now control the tainted blood in her veins, and how she'll use the power Mr. Lin has given her to help all the hunters in Nokin. Ackerman thinks to himself how Mr. Lin did mention something similar to this, and how Mr. Lin doesn't only want to help Ackerman but all the other hunters in Nokin. And the way he wants to help hunters is to rid them of the curse of the tainted blood, which would cause them to get consumed by the madness of the dream beast that they have the tainted blood of. Ackerman praises Mr. Lin and calls him the savior of all the hunters, and starts yelling how his family and friends all fell to the curse of the tainted blood, and how he witnessed it personally as they slowly lost their sanity and transformed and got corrupted by the dream beasts, slowly becoming beasts themselves. But how thanks to Mr. Lin, this will not be the case for hunters anymore. He starts crying out of excitement, and Miss G calms him down, saying that Mr. Lin will give them a new purpose, and Ackerman agrees, saying that they will be reborn under Mr. Lin's protection and guidance. Two of them shake hands and call Mr. Lin infallible. Their passion for Mr. Lin made them quickly agree with each other, so much so that they immediately became soulmates. Then the weird-eye cowboy-looking guy tells Miss G how he has found some kind of a map, and after inspecting the map, Miss G excitedly comments how this is the map of all the underground passages that allowed white wolves to move so freely around Nokin without ever being caught. She orders her subordinates to loot everything they can, and how they need to gather up as much explosive as possible, because their goal right now is to destroy all the other eggs of the magic mirror, so Nokin will be safe from Dream Beast's invasions forever. Ackerman tells Miss G how now he's fulfilled Mr. Lin's wishes and is going to leave them to their plans, and that he will help Miss G in future when his help is needed, and calls her his leader, saying he hopes the day he will serve her again is not too far. Miss G winks and in a flirty way tells him that she might need his help soon, and Ackerman, completely missing her point, responds by saying that he will do whatever she wants from him in the name of the bookstore owner. My bro Ackerman has negative riz. He also continues speaking, saying that she should act faster too and try to fulfill Mr. Lin's orders as soon as she possibly can, and as we can see the shadow of his dream beast with familiar bloodthirsty glow in its eyes, Ackerman tells Miss G that no matter what, she should never try to betray Mr. Lin. Miss G is left speechless for a moment as he leaves. My girl was hoping to get some Ackerman juice tonight, but all she got was a live threat. No! Oh no, Ackerman, what did you do? She orders her men to place the explosives now, and as soon as they set them off, they should run out so they don't get caught in the explosives, and they follow her order, placing the explosives and running away. As they are running out, Max tells Miss G that Ackerman's last words were a threat, but how he didn't feel any murderous intent coming from Ackerman, and Miss G responds by saying that both her and Ackerman are customers of Mr. Lin, and this caused them to form a partnership now, but how he wanted to pass her a different kind of message just now, and from her understanding, the message was that there's not just one destructive level aura around here, but two, And this shocks Max as Miss G continues explaining, saying that Ackerman has felt this other destructive level aura but couldn't find the exact position of this person, so he came to Miss G now to protect them if this other destructive level person was to attack them. And as the explosion goes off, Miss G says that now they owe 2 favors to Ackerman, for saving Pava and for saving them from this other destructive level guy. As the underground base is getting demolished by explosions, Miss G explains that her next step is to go to Mr. Lin with this locked box containing the secret tainted blood formula in hopes Mr. Lin will help her open the box. Now, we see a familiar shadowy figure in these underground tunnels, probably the other destructive person Ackerman sensed, and we learn that this is Old Wild. My boy Old Wild is back! He was impressed by Ackerman's and Miss G's detection skills because they could find out his aura even though he was concealing it completely. As he's walking out, he thinks how times have definitely changed now and admires the new hunters and their amazing talents and thinks how this is maybe what Mr. Lin wanted to see all along. Old Wild now thinks about Ackerman specifically, thinking how he managed to keep his senses of Old Wild's aura active the entire time he just had a casual conversation with Miss G, and how before leaving, after telling her the threatening message, he could actually direct his murderous intent specifically and only at Old Wild so the other hunters wouldn't feel it. Old Wild compares Ackerman's power to the one of a top-notch black mage and thinks how he can still feel lingering effects of his murderous and cold aura, and remembers how Ackerman not too long ago accepted a contract on Old Wild, thinking if Ackerman didn't abandon this contract, the fight with him would be troublesome for Old Wild. He then admires Mr. Lin, thinking how he's magnificent for being able to acquire such powerful people as his chess pawns, and how Mr. Lin probably has some kind of a grandiose plan for all of them. Old Wild feels grateful for receiving Mr. Lin's blessings as well, and thinks how it's his time to repay back his master Mr. Lin, as he finds Helix's dead and mutilated body, lifts it up saying how he didn't guide Helix so long for nothing, and thinking how Helix is the perfect material. He then remembers Mr. Lin's words to him when Mr. Lin advised Old Wild to always be firm and ruthless and never give an opportunity for things to return back to haunt him, saying that he'll never allow the same mistakes to happen ever again. Now we go 10 years into the past and see a new day dawn in Nokken, as Old Wild's first adopted son and disciple Charles is happily walking down the street because he's going out to buy all the ingredients Old Wild needs, and thinks how tonight he'll probably receive a delicious meal as a reward for being such a good disciple. As he's looking at the list of the items he needs to buy, he meets the second disciple of Old Wild and his foster brother Yuan. Bros, they're changing these guys' names every 2 chapters and are just making it more difficult for me to remember all of their original names. Not cool, not cool. Charles gets happy after seeing Yuan and asks how his tasks are coming along, to which Yuan responds by saying that he's still doing them and making progress, and then Yuan asks Charles why is he alone and not with Old Wild. Charles responds how Old Wild is sleeping and he wanted to surprise him with all the ingredients he needed for the new method he came up with a couple of days ago, but after finishing the research for this method, he immediately fell asleep because of how tired he got from it. So that's why Charles is out now all by himself. Charles also explains how his duty was to clean the workshop, and how in order to buy these materials before Old Wild wakes up, he couldn't finish cleaning the workshop, so he hopes he won't get scolded for it after Old Wild wakes up. Yuan tells Charles he won't snitch on him to Old Wild and also offers to help him find the potion shop he's looking for, which gets Charles really excited and even more happy. As they are walking off together, Charles continues praising and thanking Yuan, admiring how Yuan is able to train outside by himself, and says how he hopes he will be able to train like that too, while we can see Yuan's ominous smile as he tells Charles that he'll be able to do it soon too. After walking for a while and entering an abandoned alley, Charles gets a bit suspicious and asks Yuan if this is really where the potion shop is located, and Yuan responds that it is, and how it's probably located in this remote place because people who sell potions usually are all weird. Charles comments how this place maybe isn't that dangerous since Old Wild comes here often too, and explains how on his right hand he has a ring made by Old Wild that allows him to teleport quickly back to the workshop, so Yuan should also stay close to him in case something bad happens, so they can go back to safety to the workshop together. Yuan responds, again in an ominous manner, saying that Charles shouldn't worry and how if any danger occurs, he'll definitely hold on to Charles's ring too, so both of them can teleport away. As they continue walking more and more into deserted alleys and blocks, Charles comments how he never wants to come back here again because of the foul smell this place reeks of, and then they hear a voice and look up, seeing a guy up on a building commenting how nothing smells more foul than that old dirtbag Old Wild, and the next worst smell is the smell of his first disciple because Charles carries the smell of Old Wild. Charles gets scared and shocked as he looks up at this guy and realizes that this is the destructive level black mage Harper Red. Harper Red asks if Old Wild did not actually mention any details about him before, and continues saying that if this is the truth, it doesn't surprise him at all because Harper Red ruined the reputation of Old Wild and humiliated him, and that's why Old Wild doesn't talk about him at all. As he starts manically laughing and screaming how Old Wild never expected that his favorite disciple will die by Harper Red's hands. Charles gets shocked and yells, telling Yuan that this guy is dangerous and they need to get away as soon as possible and warn Old Wild about this. But as he turns around to tell Yuan to grab his hand so they can teleport, Yuan rips it clean off, leaving Charles even more shocked than he was. Charles falls down on the floor, surrounded by a pool of blood spilling out of his body, as Yuan tells him that it's time for him to die, so they can use his dead body as a puppet and send it to Old Wild to learn all of his secrets, and after learning all of them, they will kill Old Wild too. Charles, still lying on the floor, calls Yuan crazy and asks him why did he betray Old Wild. And as Yuan is taking the ring off of the Charles chopped off hand, he comments by saying that how does Charles even dare ask him this, and as he inspects the ring, also says how this ring is really valuable and that Old Wild must really care about Charles to provide him with such a gift. He then starts yelling in jealousy at Charles, saying that all of Old Wild's attention should have belonged to him because he is way more talented than Charles. But for some dumb reason, Old Wild always favored Charles over Yuan. As he kicked Charles, he continues yelling and insulting him, saying that someone as weak as him doesn't deserve to receive better knowledge from Old Wild, and how Yuan never gets the treatment Charles gets. He continues kicking Charles and hitting him in the spot of the open wound, and as Charles is screaming in agonizing pain, he tells Yuan that maybe Old Wild did like him more, But when it comes to teachings and transferring his knowledge to his disciples, Old Wild never prioritized his favorites. But it's just that Yuan wasn't qualified enough to receive the best lessons from Old Wild. This makes Yuan even more angry, and as he tries to finish Charles off, a magic rune appears on the floor, out of which rock spikes emerge, hitting Yuan and causing the scar on his face as he drops the teleportation ring, which falls to the floor. That's all for today's video, bros. Thank you so much for watching it. I really appreciate your support. I can't express this enough. Soon I'll have to find a new manhwa we can do a recap series of, like this one. So I really hope you can continue to watch these other manhwas I do and continue to support me as awesomely as you do all of this time. So thank you so much, bros. Stay awesome and peace.